Welcome to another episode of Not Your Average Lives, where I highlight inspirational stories of midlife transformations. Today's guest is Christine Camm, who talks about following the passion she's had since she was 11 years old and how she ditched her traditional teaching career after the age of 50 and made it happen. Listen in to hear how she refused to give up on her dream and is now living her passion.
Okay, we are here with Christine Camm, and she lives in France, but she is British, and she's got a great story, perfect for my show. So, Christine, why don't you tell my listeners a little bit about like your age, and I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about where you live in France, what took you to France, and then a little about your family structure. I like to know if there's a husband, children, grandchildren. So just a little background.
Okay. Hi. Thank you, Laurie. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I feel honored to be with you and to share the story. And thank you for picking that up. Who am I? Yes, I'm Christine Camm. I'm English born, and I started learning French at school like anybody else at the age of 11. But somehow something was clicking, and it stayed in my heart to always want to go and live in France. So here I am, if we fast forward right now, here I am living in the southwest of France with my husband and my Labrador, who is 12 years old now. I've got 2 children, both of whom have their own lives elsewhere now, and one of them has given us a beautiful grandson as well. They're both very happy, and I love them to bits, all of them, everything. So, yeah.
How long have you lived in France?
It's kind of a bit of part of the story. We bought the house 4 years ago, but we've only lived in it for 2 years. Okay. And I liken it to buying a cobweb with a house attached, because it's massive. But it was a mess, and it was full of rats, and it was dirty, and it was filthy, and we've just cleaned it up, and it's so lovely. Even though it's not finished, it'll never be finished. It's a project, but it's a project from the heart, and that's why we're so happy. We love it.
So you had this wish your whole life, and you moved to France?
Yes. Yeah. The only regret I have is not having fulfilled that much earlier in life. I wish I wanted to come when I first came, because I studied French at university. And I met my husband, and I was singing in the choir, and he caught my eye, I caught his eye, and that was it. So when I came for my year abroad and came down to this area, I was like, come down here. But he was in his final year of school, of university, and he felt it was a bit stressful to do all that traveling, whereas I was happy-go-lucky, wandering around, exploring everywhere and practicing French. So I went back and stayed with him on the holidays, and he never got to see how lovely it was here. So every year I had to persuade him that we could inch our way further down. And it took 35 years.
Wow.
And we made it, and he's like, oh, this is lovely. And we bought the house that we're in now.
Did you say your age? Did I miss that?
You didn't miss it. I'm 57 years old.
Oh, youngster.
I'm heading towards 60. Like, I don't know what it is as we get older, but I feel even more accomplished than ever before. But every day I feel I could do more and more and more. I feel more energetic, more positive, more powerful than ever in my life than I've ever felt.
Yeah. I feel like my 50s were my best decade. And so I was actually, when I turned 60, it was probably the first decade I entered that I was more excited for entering it than being like, oh, because I remember when I hit 40, I was like, oh.
I felt that when I turned 50, I was like, oh gosh, no. But I think that's part of what I'll have to explain, that as I turned 50, some other things were happening in my life. And that changed everything to how I feel about myself now.
So tell me a little bit about that transition as you turned 50.
Okay, so I was working in England, and I was a senior leader in a secondary school on teaching, the quality of teaching and learning within the school. And Ofsted seemed to like me. The kids seemed to like me. Things were going pretty well. I could cycle to school and back along country lanes. Everything was regular, pleasant. My salary was very good. A nice little suburb in Lincoln, in England. And most people would say, "What? Why are you not happy?" And something wasn't right. Right back from the age of 11, I'd wanted to live in France. And like I said, I'd kind of inched my husband towards the south slowly. I still wanted to be there. I still needed to be in France. My heart was there as well.
But we push those things down, kind of, we suppress those. So like, was there a moment when you were like, oh, I remember from age 11, is that what you started thinking about those things more when you turned 50?
Once I'd started learning French, that was it. It was France and it was French. It was everything to me.
It wasn't suppressed. You always had that.
But it had to be suppressed because my husband didn't really want to. He didn't speak much French and was nervous about French, so it had to be just a holiday. So my children grew up knowing that my heart was in France, and they were dragged off to France every single year with a caravan, and it was, we're going to France, and the journeys got longer and longer, and we just loved it. But once your children go into school, you feel honoured to not shift them about. For some reason, I felt nervous about that. Looking back, I should have just done it. But at the time, I was very much a product of my system, and I was told I was going to be a secretary, a good little girl, I was going to be a mummy, I was going to have lots of children and cook and wear my pinny and go into an old people's home at 62.
Yeah.
My purple rinse and my curlers, my slippers, all that's what we were bred into. We were born into that. There didn't seem to be any alternative in the 60s. That's what was going to happen. And I found through French another world where that didn't exist. And I think that's you could call it escapism if you wish, but I called it a reality check because that was the place where I wasn't hung up by those things. There was no label about my personality, my background, who I was when I learned French. I was free and liberated. So it connected with that. And when I went to France and I spoke to people I'd never spoken to before, they didn't tell me about, when you want to grow up and be this secretary or be this mother. So it kind of connected with me at that point all the way along. And as I was being a good teacher, I found that I was living the life that other people were expecting me to be and have.
Yes.
And I didn't know what the word integrity meant. I was just being a good girl all the way through. And I distinctly remember turning 50, and I looked at my school chair, and I was still teaching in the classroom as well because I like the contact. And I just remember looking at that chair, and I'd sat in it for 11 years, and there were another 14 years or so ahead of me. I just thought, no, I'd make 25 years in the same chair with a dream of being. It wasn't France. I realized at that point I hadn't been true to myself all along.
Yeah. So
I didn't even know who I was.
Just so listeners know, one of the things I told Christine in our pre-interview before we got on is, I like to share aha moments because I think those are big turning points in our lives. And so for me, and it sounds like you went through this, I was 47 and I looked at my husband then, who we were divorced, but good friends. And we were in a passionless marriage, and we were really living like brothers and sisters. And I remember thinking I was more afraid to stay there than to leap into the unknown. And it sounds like you went through that. You were more afraid of sitting in that chair.
Yes.
Than you were to make some drastic change in your life.
I think the words disgust and guilt. And then I felt like I was an imposter. Like, who am I to break out of that? How dare I? Because I'd been told from an early age, just because of circumstances, and I think it made me strong, that my childhood wasn't brilliant. And I grew up thinking I was a nobody and nothing and going nowhere. And those negatives hung over me like an iron clamp of a cloud, making me serve others, making me be the person others expected me to be all the time. And I'd never addressed who am I. And
well, it wasn't even that they put that on you, it's that we think that's what they want. And we're
that's
trying
right.
and we're trying to please, and that's our nature.
So, yeah, that's right. So I just looked at it, and it wasn't the chair or my life I was disgusted with. I was very, very grateful for everything I'd got. But I just thought, I don't know myself. If somebody said, who are you? How can you be identified by? Or how could you be identified? I was like, I don't know. I am a nothing. I am a nobody, and I am going nowhere. Oh my gosh, I fulfilled it. And I was disgusted with that. And I thought, no way. And the rebel in me was like, this is not going to happen.
Yeah.
So I handed my resignation in. This is funny. I handed my resignation in on the Friday. I was accepted for another job immediately in Kuwait. And I thought, yes, that's going to be it. But they didn't know that I'd accepted another job. And I didn't know that they were offering a redundancy for £45,000. And the timing came just before that. So I missed it. What
does that mean in we don't know, in America, what a redundancy for?
Oh, yeah. Oh, right. Okay. When you've got too many teachers, you've got too much staff, you say to somebody, we'll pay you off and let you go. And I talked about it, and they said, no, you can't do that. So I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't hand my notice in.
Okay.
However,
here in America, it's like an early out. Like they advise you for retiring early. Yeah.
It's a paid goodbye.
Yes. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I paid goodbye, and I missed it. And I took off to Kuwait without it. I'm like, I just thought, I don't care. I look at that now and I think that was the first time I realized just money was not important, because I actually didn't care. You know how 45,000 is huge. And during that year, my daughter kicked in and said, Mum, I can see you're finding your feet here. I can see that your passion is the French and living in France. And going to Kuwait was a roundabout way of getting international experience to get to France, so I could come from a totally different angle.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and what specifically was the opportunity in Kuwait? Was that teaching French?
Yeah, yes, it was teaching. Yeah, so there was some French, some English, some Spanish, just whatever, just being in another place, learning about different communities and different people was really exciting. But I was happier than ever.
Yeah, what I love about your story is it's the journey and the experiences that as we transform, it's not immediate. And a lot of people get frustrated, I think, because they think, oh, one day I'm going to wake up and I'm going to do this and it's going to be instantaneous. And it's like, you have to turn down that path, and then the path leads you and continues to lead you. And so it's, it's the journey. It's the experiences along the way that ultimately get you to where you.
I agree with you entirely there. And why did I wait so long? I was insecure. And I didn't have the conviction that my choices would be right. Mm-hmm. And I was also fearful instead of fearless.
Of course, yes.
And I was still in that, fulfilling other people's requirements. So what I learned by leaving a job, leaving all the money, putting my house up for rent, was excitement and liberation. I've heard of people saying, oh, we're moving house, I'm doing this, and they're crying because they're packing up stuff in boxes. I felt it liberating because I thought, I don't need these earthly trappings as it is. I don't need all these ornaments. I don't need red walls, green walls, or paper on my walls. I just needed 2 suitcases to get to Kuwait and live.
Well, I also have to give major props to your husband because clearly he loved you enough to follow you and your heart. And a lot of, it's sometimes spouses can be a bit resistant.
He was resistant for 35 years, and with all due respect, I believed him. I thought he was doing the right thing. And looking at my children now, and yes, it was the right thing. So no regrets. The time came, it happened, and then he said to me, "It's your turn.
Oh,
I will go wherever you want me to be."
oh.
And came along. He gave up his job, he
Well,
retired.
and then his reward is a super passionate and happy wife, which, gosh, that's priceless,
I valued that so much. And I knocked him. I was going like, well, where's your dream? How can I satisfy your dream in life? What do you want today and tomorrow and the day after? And instead of going, oh, I love you, thank you. So, we just said, let's go, let's do it. Because all that we've got is each other.
Yes.
That will do. We don't need anything else. If we lost everything, we'd come back, go back into that little house and get another job.
Mm-hmm.
You can work as I don't know, anything. Just go to the supermarket. It doesn't matter. We've got each other.
Yeah. Well, and
nothing
that's
else
back
matters.
to live in the present moment, and it'll all work itself out. Don't worry about what's the future, and just if you live your passion, things will happen as the universe has your back.
I think manifesting your dreams is not just luck.
Mm-mm.
I didn't look at my chair and then hand my notice in within seconds. I had in my head, but the reason I got the job in Kuwait was because I'd actually made 26 applications to other jobs over the 3 years prior to that, been rejected from absolutely every single one. And then suddenly, for some reason, they said, we want you. But okay. So nothing was by chance. I'd manifested wanting to live in France and thought, well, if I have to go via Kuwait, and then I went to Jordan and lived there, I think it was a matter of taking one step at a time and being open to things that connect the dots, even if you had to add more dots to get to the dream that you want.
Right.
But unless you're open, you don't see them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that was it, because I didn't just go, oh, I've had enough, packed up and left it to luck, because I didn't want that. I knew I wanted the south of France.
Well, and that's a good lesson for people that, again, it takes time. I mean, you applied 36 times. It's like the story of Rudy, which I love. And I don't know if he was a football player that went to Notre Dame, but he applied several times and they made a movie about him, but he was just persistent, and that was his dream. And he kept believing it would happen, but he kept taking action so it would happen.
Even if it's not the right action. I mean, there are actions that I've taken that would seem like they've got nothing to do with it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like going to Kuwait. It's like, what? So what I looked for was, how can this ultimately serve my purpose? Well, firstly, you can't run away from anything, because if you run away from anything, it comes with you. It follows you. It's there. Nothing changes. It's a matter of what is good about where I'm going. And we got excited about the goodness of what was there. And then my husband got deported because the school, unfortunately, hadn't got a lot of people's passports and things sorted. So the visa wasn't quite right. And then the immigration police came waving through the establishment, and he got caught up in it and was like, you've got to go. Like, oh, he was really happy there as well. So he got another job in Jordan. And at that point, I followed him. And I just said, look, it's about being together. It doesn't matter where we are. And I got sick as well. I got very sick. So I turned up to work one day. I was trying to climb the stairs and I couldn't. I couldn't do anything. It was just hyperthyroid, and it had gone crazy, and I'd lost loads and loads of weight. And when I got to the doctor at Kuwait, he said I was in perfect health. I thought there's something wrong. So I got on a plane and went to Jordan and said, can we go and see a doctor? And yeah, it all got sorted straight away. I thought, I can't go back to Kuwait. I can't go back to a place where my health is under threat. And it might have just been circumstantial, but it led us to be together in Jordan.
Right.
Which is, you
so
know.
You are 57, so you're in Jordan. We met, so people know, through a mastermind for online business owners. Somewhere along the way, you found the internet and you told me in the pre-interview that you had no technology skills. I love, because everybody uses that. And
I thought I had them all.
Yeah. And you had a dream. And, you know, a lot of people that I work with, they don't, and this was me, honestly, is I didn't know what my dream was because I was so invested in my children and my corporate job. And I was a workaholic. And when I worked, I didn't think, it allowed me to, like, just be blind to everything. You know, it was my kids, my corporate job, and then my dreams were just so suppressed. So it wasn't until I got into my 50s and I found an opportunity to have an online business, and I was like, oh, that looks like fun. And so anyways, how did you end up transitioning to very traditional school?
Okay, yeah.
My parents are teachers, so that is a very traditional model.
Excuse me. Yes, it's a very traditional model there, yes. Basically, my daughter said, should we go into business? Neither of us knew what that really meant. I had the passion and the skills for the French and the teaching. And she said, she must have been listening to some podcasts of James Wedmore. Mm-hmm. And it was all about mindset. She knew I had money mindset issues. And James was addressing those. And she connected that with me. Do you know what? At the time, I was like, yeah, right. No, don't do it. Don't go there. But the idea of going to business seemed good. But you can't go into business with money mindset issues.
Right.
The problem was I wasn't listening to James properly. It was like blah, 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 blah. Yeah, you've got to be a CEO of your business. You've got to get over yourself. You've got to employ people. I'm like, all I heard was spend. And a fear clicked in. I don't know what I'm doing. I need all sorts of technology. I've got to pay for this and other things. And I thought, do you know what? I'm just going to do it because my daughter's very inspiring, very determined, and very helpful. Mm. She's a very good strategic thinker, and she heard James, and she connected it to the fact that she could use me as the front end of a business and then show me how to make the business, and then go on and do her own. Things don't work out quite so simply in business.
I love that, though, because and she was in a way kind of your coach. You know, she was leading you, and that was somebody that pushed you a little further than you would have gone on your own. And I love that you had her to support you and to show you the possibilities.
She got me to start using my computer. However, my first Zoom meeting was horrendous. I've got it recorded. So I had absolutely no idea, no sound quality, no visual quality, no internet. The background was horrendous. I just didn't get it. I think I was lying on my bed with my, my tummy. I was like, okay. And I gave this lady a lesson, and she was delighted. But that's not the point. I was like...
So this was you teaching using technology on a piece of technology, Zoom, this is what we're using here for this recording. She got on fine, but it was using it for the first time. Failing
Oh, yes.
I love that. So, and then how did you feel after that session, teaching somebody, doing what you love?
Well, the teaching side was absolutely fantastic. I'd used a PowerPoint presentation that was school quality. I call it school quality because in school you just have sometimes to, if you're making stuff yourself, you go with what is good enough. But when you're doing professional quality, it's different. Although schools should be professional quality, I thought I was fine. But actually, the word brand popped up somewhere. It's like consistency, consistency of font, positioning, backgrounds, borders, messaging, all these things. Like, what? Why does it matter? I spent something like 6 months doing one PowerPoint, one PDF, because my daughter's so patient. I give her all the credit. She goes, Mom, get the alignment right. Mom, it's got to just do a template one. It's like the template took so many months. And she kept saying, no, that's out of line. And it was really annoying me. But now I've got it, and it's really professional, and it's dead easy to use.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So,
I know, but I couldn't do it at first.
Yes. And so now your business is teaching. Your clients are learning French, and you teach all over because you're on the internet, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yes. Yeah. People join me on 3 levels. They can converse. Sorry.
You're using your expertise from
your
traditional model, and you've migrated your vision, your dream of living in France, speaking French, and now you're teaching it, and that's just amazing.
I think what's the most exciting thing is that it's what I've always loved doing. And I'll wake up in the morning and go, oh, I've got my conversation cafe. I've got people coming to talk with me. And it's like, I'm paid to do what I love.
Mm-hmm.
And I get a buzz. So, I mean, it's structured talk, and I make these professional packs to help, to guide people through what to say and keep them speaking spontaneously, or for a lesson. But I wake up excited. Whereas when I was in school, when you're teaching 30 children with different pressures, that the end point isn't always properly agreed by both parties. You're forcing people to pass their exams, or pushing them into having the techniques to pass the exam. And sometimes when the runway is the 5-year lead up to it, it's forced. They'd be better off with 6 years, or maybe they're bored and they could have done it in 3. Yeah. But they still have the same trajectory to the same place. Right. Whereas now we just agree what we're going to be learning and doing.
Yeah.
And everyone's happy.
Like, so if somebody like I was going to travel to France, could I learn basic, ordering food in a restaurant or asking for a cab? I mean, is it basic, or do you really have to know French to?
Everything from the beginning, from nothing, getting you talking, and not doing set phrases, but doing set skills and tools that apply to wherever you are, so you can get out of that whatever.
Right.
Or get into it.
And I think the important part is understanding it more than actually speaking it. You can fake your way to speaking it.
Well, this is people's problem. Is sometimes they'll go to France, or they'll have a French conversation and say, "Oh, I know what to say," but they can't adapt because they haven't got the tools to adapt. And then they go, "Oh, I'm fine," but then the conversation I get carried away, or they get carried away, and they can't. They lose themselves in the conversation because the French person's answered them. They're like, I don't know what to do now. I'm stuck. So I'm the unstuck lady. I'll get you out of that. Anyway.
So here you are, living in France, teaching French, loving life, getting up and getting excited about, that's what I like. The vision that I have for people that I want is that not them dragging themselves out of bed, hitting the snooze button, that they're actually I get excited to get up in the morning, and I just
Yes.
love what I'm doing. So what would you say to the person who's just sitting stuck and in a old traditional job that they don't love? They might have had a dream as a child, or maybe they don't really even have a clue. What would be your advice, having been through it?
Well, firstly, you're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
If you look around you and go to work, chances are 99% of the people around you are feeling exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, if you start vocalizing your dreams and stuff, those 99% of the people will probably say you're crazy.
Yes.
So
Family members.
particularly, yes, absolutely. Oh, and people who you think are your very, very good friends. Now, there are different types of friends, and some friends are just situational friends, and much as they're lovely and well, lovely, you can cut that. Much as they are lovely and feel loyal at the time, they might drift off. The real friends will go with you and support you whatever you do. So you don't want to be afraid of losing anything or anybody around you. And then try and work out what is it you really want. Now, that's difficult because part of your brain panics and says, I can't give up my job. I've got to earn the money to maintain my current existence. Be patient and put things in place to be able to pick it up. So if I just refer back to the fact that I got this job in Kuwait, I wasn't lucky. I had people say, oh, you're lucky. But like I say, 26 applications to get there. And it wasn't even to France, which is where I really wanted to be. Mm-hmm. And if I'd not started putting things in motion quietly behind the scenes to get where I wanted, it wouldn't have even happened. Wow. So you've got to work out, what do you want? Mm-hmm. How are you going to get there without losing anything right now? Because that's what's holding you in your panic zone.
Right. Just start taking baby steps is what I say, because I think once you have a dream, just knowing you have it and that it's somewhere out there and you're working towards it is enough to make you excited, to start getting off the couch, to start taking action and doing things.
I think so. And then what you have to do is listen to that inner voice, because there are two voices. There's the one with the dream that wants it, and then there's the kick-in voice, the very fast ego saying, don't do that. And it will be saying to you, what if? What if you lose your friends? What if you can't afford it? What if? So I listened to those what ifs and answered each one and ticked them off. What if it all goes wrong? Well, the one thing I held on to was my house. Okay, it's bricks and mortar. Residents or tenants, people who come in, they can wreck it a bit. The garden's not as beautiful. But hey, I never had that house from when it was first made. You know, it doesn't matter if I have to reset the garden again. So if you've got yourself some kind of fallback, all those what ifs will be answered. So it took me 35 years to get here. Mm-hmm. I didn't listen and tick off the what ifs in that time, and I could have done. Yeah. I don't regret it. I really don't. Had I moved earlier, I might not be here right now. Mm-hmm. So that's very important. However, I kept that and I knew it was going to happen. So I learnt more French. I learnt Spanish so I could teach it. I learnt how to teach English right from the age of 40. I decided to do a master's to keep myself ticking over and learning. So I wasn't just sitting dreaming. I was doing things that I knew would help my ultimate goal in the end.
Right. Yeah.
And that drove me on.
Yeah. And I think part of why we're so passionate about what we do and we want to share it with others is because we want to expedite the process for the person. So that's what I want to do, is I want to expedite them to start dreaming, to start doing, to start taking action. And you're expediting in your way, is you're you're also influencing people just by living your dream, but then all that, wanting to learn French and being passionate about that, and you're expediting the process for them, which would be very painful if they didn't have you to help them. So.
But
All
dreams
right.
are there to be realized, so that is nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing I would advise is once you've got your dream in place and you've got it there, it's like, oh my gosh, what are you going to do with it?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the important thing, because going into business after having a paid salary for 35 years is terrifying.
Right.
And you have to be ready for, like I say, that backup,
Right.
just in case.
Yeah.
Just in case things
Your
go
dream
wrong.
living in France, but you didn't know what living there looked like and working. So now you have a business teaching French, but that's not necessarily your original dream, right? So
No, flexibility
yeah,
is
yeah,
the key there.
yeah. Awesome. All right, so I'm going to wrap up now, but tell me how people can get to find you on the interwebs, follow up with you. And I would love for people to reach out to Christine. And, if you liked this and watched it all the way through, then just appreciate her, because she's amazing.
Thank you very much. So are you. I found this very inspiring, actually, because going through what I've been saying, it's like, oh my gosh, what's my next dream? Right, I'm going for it. I've already, right up to Christmas and beyond, I'm thinking, right, I'm going to get my 90-day plans really solid now. So I would say, if you want to get in touch with me, because I'm a person rather than just wanting like blind contact, I would say send me an email straight away that I can get back to. Mm-hmm. I'm Christine at simplyfrenchonline.com. Mm-hmm. I've got a Facebook group called The Real French Method, which is like for serious French learners, so you want to go into there. I am online as Christine Camm in Facebook. Mm-hmm. But I'd rather you just email me, or if you go on Messenger and look for me, there's Christine Camm. There's me with some teacups, because that's my little trade picture.
Okay.
Coffee cups, sorry, not teacups.
Website? Do you have a website? You don't have a website?
I do have a website, but I'd rather just stick to email right now, because I'm going to upgrade it. So it's going to come down and I'm going to start putting all the next pictures up. So it's like, no, I don't want you to go to the website and then find that it's being upgraded.
Okay. Yes, we're always working on something.
Well, yes. Thank you for asking that. So yeah, Christine at simplyfrenchonline.com is where you'll best get me to talk to you straight away. And then I'll say, if you want to talk, let's hop on a Zoom, and within minutes we're actually talking.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for being a guest. And you are amazing, and I love what you do, and I love that you are a doer and a dreamer, and you what's the word? My favorite quote is, "You're never too old to dream a new dream," and you are a perfect example of that.
Oh, you're very, very kind. I want to live this passion for the next 4 decades. I want to keep going.
Everybody deserves that. Everybody deserves to be passionate, and it makes the world a better place. We all need the world to be a better place, and the happier we all are, and the more we're serving what I think we're meant to do. We should be finding out what that thing is and then doing it, and not being afraid, because it will all take care of itself. So thank you.
I agree. Thank you very, very much for this wonderful opportunity, and
Christine.
And merci à tout le monde.
Bye. Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.